Uh, Hello. Hello, ma'am. I'm not able to hear your voice.
Now? Hello.
Ah, now better, ma'am. Loud
Okay.
and clear.
Loud and clear.
Yes,
Guys,
yes.
can you hear me now? Hope I am audible now. எப்படி இருக்கீங்க ஆனந்த் எப்படி கேட்க முடியுதா என்னோட பேச்சு கேக்குதா உங்களுக்கு
Clear, ma'am. Voice
ஓகே
is clear. நல்லா இருக்கேன், ma'am. மாலை வணக்கம்.
thank you Samir மாலை வணக்கம் we have still a few more minutes to go
Sure,
hi
ma'am.
Ranjani yes yeah sorry guys I thought it's clear that's why I'm talking hope all are fine and though the lockdown is eased out still we have to be very careful and today we are going to see a lot of colorful birds and Mr. Anand is going to treat us with his South Asian bird collection. Even hi Siripara, Siri Kumar, hi Samir. No, it was Tamil. Hi Aravind. Samir, the session is going to be in English only. Okay, just a few words we interacted in Tamil. Don't worry. Yes. Hi Aravind, yes, I am also looking forward. This is the one, birds are, birds are close to my heart and definitely these colorful birds are really, I am looking forward where all we got and all the things I am going to listen today. And still few more minutes. Good evening, Vimal. Good evening, Rajesh. Karthik, good evening, Karthik Nagapan, good evening. Thank you. Join பண்ணதுக்கு. Thank you for joining. And hi Naveen. Oh, thank you. This is my favorite pictures. You know, the daughter fighting and grey leg goose and all. No? That's my favorite photograph. Yes, Karthik, I am fine. Okay. And yeah, back to our post today. Tell me, Anand, so how long you've been doing this photography, bird photography? Before we start, we will get some small introduction about you.
Sure, ma'am. So I started bird photography 8 years before.
Okay.
So with the Karthik Ramut, he was my colleague.
Okay.
So along with him, I started bird photography.
Okay.
So first I was shooting raptors, and then I been traveled a lot across Southeast Asia.
Okay.
So I always try to explore new location, study about the location, and then understand what special birds are there in that location, and then I target and go there. So that is what it slowly started, and I've been exploring a lot. So yet to explore a lot as well.
Okay. Hi Shiva, thank you. Oh, thank you. Yesterday is also amazing session. The big cats, Karsa was mesmerizing all the images. Today also, I hope you guys will love it to see beautiful photographs. Yes, hello Raghavan. Yes. Hi Venkatesh. Good evening, guys. Yes, we are waiting few more minutes, then we'll start. Hi Priyanka. Yes, Murali. Good. Priyanka Murali. Yeah. Good evening. Good afternoon. Hi Rajesh. Good evening. Okay. We'll wait few more minutes, Anand. Okay.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. Samir, any lessons for Mumbai people soon? Yeah, now we can't go anywhere, no. Traveling is very strict. Once the fully lockdown over, let me think about it. Maybe I'll come. Hi, Prem Kumar. Yes, thank you. Happy to see you all also. That's why I came early. Hope all are safe, guys. Though the lockdown is eased, but the numbers are increasing day by day. In Mumbai also and Chennai also, it's a red zone. And be careful whenever you go out. Still, you have to use face mask, all the sanitizer things and all. It's our responsibility to take care of us. Good evening, all. Today, Mr. Anand Ramasamy is going to with us. He is going to talk about South Asian birds, not technically, because it's not we have all different type of audience. So he's going to showcase his photographs and the habitats. We are going to see so many beautiful pictures also. Yes, Priya. Thank you, Priya. Yes, yesterday it was rocking, and I am sure today is also going to be rocking session. Yes, Vijendra. Nipun, yes, I am fine. Thank you, Samir. Shall we start now? Yeah, we can start now because it's going to be 4 o'clock. Okay, Anand, now start for now. We can start.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah, I will take questions end of the session after Mr. Anand complete his presentation. Then if you want to ask any questions, the Q&A session is there. You can type there. Okay, we will take questions from them. And my Facebook friends, you can type your questions in the comments itself. Once the presentation over, we will take questions from there also. Okay, let us start. Thank you, all the best. Yes, Anand, I am also looking so exciting and looking forward.
Thanks, Ritika ma'am. So my screen is visible, right?
Yes, visible.
Okay.
Little bit louder. You are a bit louder.
Sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. So how is the voice now? It's audible now?
Yes, fine.
Probably I will raise my voice. Yeah,
yes, sure. little bit.
Sure. So today's presentation, right? So we'll discuss about the South Asian birds and photography mainly, right? When I say South Asian, right, it's predominantly on the Malaysia birding, Singapore, and Thailand, Indonesia. So we'll go through each, a country, how is their birding locations and how, habitat is about, right? So I will start my presentation right away, right? So first, Malaysia birding, right, and photography. So first, before we choose the location, right, first we need to understand overall what all the birding spot and what all the birds we need to look after and what all the species are there. So that is something, in Malaysia, there are around 800 species, right? And in that, there are around 16 endemic species. So when I say 16 endemic species, those are the species those are the birds are resident and it is only available in that particular country. That is pretty special, right? And 63 species are globally threatened in Malaysia. So in terms of Malaysia, it is geographically split into two parts. One is the Peninsula Malaysia and then the East Malaysia. So I will just drag the mouse over here. I believe you are able to see now.
Yes.
So first we will focus on the Peninsular Malaysia, right? So Peninsular Malaysia, I think most of us from India, we would have heard about the Kuala Lumpur and we would have traveled a lot to Kuala Lumpur, right? So Kuala Lumpur will be the place actually where you need to start the birding if you are doing birding around the Peninsular Malaysia, right? And in Kuala Lumpur, I've just listed on there are a lot of birding areas, in Malaysia. Mainly in Peninsular Malaysia, there are a few hot birding spots actually to be explored, right? Bukit Fraser Hill, this is the common birding spot everybody would have heard about in Malaysia, right? Apart from that, Taman Nehara, which is lowland rainforest, which is a very beautiful forest as well. And Panti Forest, which is pretty close to Johor Bahru, so pretty close to Singapore. This is also one of the amazing lowland forests. And Bukit Tinggi, and then Karoo Wildlife Reserve, Genting Highlands, and Chongkat. These are the forests. So to summarize, right, say from Kuala Lumpur, most of the birding spots are just 2 hours from Kuala Lumpur, except Taman Nehara and Panti. So it is pretty accessible. The road transport is amazing in Malaysia. So if you go around, by road, you can actually easily go around and explore all the places around Peninsula Malaysia. That is really great about birding around Malaysia. It's pretty cool. You can go around, look around. That is pretty nice about the Peninsula Malaysia, right? This part, right? This is East Malaysia, which is nothing but the Borneo, which has Sarawak and Sabah. So if you are towards the endemic birds, so if you want to explore on the endemic birds, so like endemic pittas or endemic kingfisher, which probably we will actually talk about in the later slide. So If you are towards the endemic birds, then yes, Borneo is the right place to explore. And then it has few hotspots as well. So one is the Kota Kinabalu National Park. So you need to land to Kota Kinabalu, right, from Kuala Lumpur. So through air. So that is where you will start the birding in Borneo. Then you have Rainforest Discovery Center, which is in Sapilo. So we call us they used to call us RDC, Rainforest Discovery Center. It's a pretty exciting place because it is pretty nice place where you have trials like Kingfisher trials, Pitta trials, and Trogon trials. You can just walk around and explore, the birding habitats there. And Danum Valley is one of the hot spots in Borneo, and it's pretty expensive place where if you really want to, look for the endemic pittas in Borneo, this is the place you need to explore. And Kindabatan River is more of hornbills as well as the other kingfisher which are there. These are the overall birding spots around Malaysia, which will give you a fair understanding of what all the places are there uh, in Malaysia in particular. Right. So when you talk about right birding season, it will be March to May because that is where the breeding season is. So that is one reason, and also you will have the migrant bird as well. So these are the best birding season which you can explore. Right. So I'll move on. Okay, birds of Malaysia. So here you can see a lot of colorful birds, right? So here I will focus on the mostly on the colorful birds and pretty rarity and endangered species, and also the species which is not there in India because predominantly it's the Indian audience. So I'll focus on the species which are pretty much in this particular country, right, and Malaysia. So one is the pittas. Obviously, pittas are one of the stunning birds. Very colorful, has vibrant colors. We'll talk about it in the slides, upcoming slides. Then the broadbills, which is another unique bird. Pheasants, trogon, kingfisher, barbet, rail babbler, and the laughing thrusher. So these are the birds actually we will be discussing about, right? Then pittas. So these are the pittas of Malaysia. So when I talk about pitta, right, so in the overall world, there are around 40 pittas. And predominantly, most of the pittas are in Southeast Asia. So if you want to really explore the pittas, then the right place will be to explore Southeast Asia, right? And typically pittas, right, it has a very short tail, right? You can see all three pictures, right? It has a very short tail. Sometimes, I get a question like, where is the tail? There's no tail in the pitta. So no, that is tail, but it's very short, right? And a very short head and long leg. So, and typically the pittas actually feed the earthworms, sometimes insects, and also snails, right? And it is more of a lowland forest habitat. The pittas are mostly seen, right? So the first pitta over your left is the garnet pitta. So garnet pitta is the resident pitta in Malaysia. So it has a vibrant color. As you see, all pittas has minimum 5 to 6 colors in it, right? So garnet pitta is like it has the red crown and then the black head and the red color over the belly part. So and this pitta is pretty commonly seen across Taman Negara forest. So it's a resident bird. It's always available in Malaysia, right? And hooded pitta, again, hooded pitta is it's there in India also. But good thing about hooded pitta in Malaysia is it's pretty common across. You can also see it's a migrant bird in Malaysia. So the hooded pitta you can see in the gardens in the KL as well. So it will actually migrate and it will be in the botanical gardens, and also you can commonly seen across the lowland forest during the migrant season. And it is one of the stunning bird as well. It has the chestnut cap and then black head and the green color, overall green color, and the bottom portion is around the red color. So you can see here, right? And then the next pitta is black and crown pitta. This is pretty, special. We say. Why special? Because if you see garnet pitta here and compare the black crown pitta, it's almost similar, right? It's almost same. But this pitta is endemic to Borneo. So what is the difference is, if you see the head part, right, it lacks the red crown. The Garnet pitta, which has the red crown, it doesn't have the red crown, and it has the blue stripes over the eyes. So this is the endemic bird in Borneo. So if you want to see or photograph this particular pitta, black crown pitta, then you have to explore Borneo. Right. Then I'll move on to broadbills. Yes, this is another stunning bird actually to definitely look after in Malaysia. If you birding in Malaysia, this is the bird I would say. Why? Because there are various facts as well. In the entire world there are around 15 broadbills. Okay, and in 15 broadbills, and in Southeast Asia, most of the broadbills are in Southeast Asia. Around 30 broadbills, I would say. And in that, 9 broadbills are there in Malaysia. That is stunning, right? So that is like you have, and in that 9 broadbills, 2 are endemic to Malaysia. So if you want to really see and photograph, then you have to come to Malaysia to photograph those 2 endemic broadbills, right? And about broadbills, right? As the name suggested, it has the broader bill. And another unique about the broadbills are the color of the bills are pretty stunning. For each broadbill, right? If you are seeing here the black and red broadbill or yellow broadbill, the beaks are, the colors are pretty stunning, right? It's like what you see, the fluorescent color or something like that, right? And first, I will just go discuss about each broadbills, right? First, in your right-hand side, the black and red broadbill. So the good thing about this broadbill is whenever I see the broadbill, most of the time it will come in a pair. So usually it will fly around it when it feeds, or it will move around the forest. It will actually come as a pair. So that is where I was able to capture this broadbill in a pair. But it's very difficult to find a male and female in the broadbill. It looks pretty much similar. So it is pretty difficult to find. Right.
Finding itself tough in Malaysia. Trying this broad bill, Anand.
Yes.
Finding itself very tough.
Yes, ma'am. Because it's
very camouflaged. And
yes,
you are lucky you got them in open.
actually, the broadbills are very tiny birds. Very tiny bird. That is one challenge. And the best way to find and spot and photograph this broadbill is to listen to the broadbill calls. So if you go to any lowland forest in Malaysia, the broadbills will definitely be there. And you need to listen to the call, and then that is where you can easily track the bird, and then you can actually spot the bird. That is the only easiest
Yes,
way.
yes. And the forest is also thick forest, no? We have to listen all the calls before going itself, how it sounds and all. Bird calls, very important. Otherwise, very tough to sight them and wait for them also, we have to know. Good.
Yes.
Please carry on.
That's true. Yeah. So black and red broadbill, yes, it has predominantly the black and yellow pattern, and the specialty of this broadbill, if you see the beak, right, it has like bluish green the top of the bill, and if you see the bottom of the bill, it is like yellow and orange color. So that is stunning about this broadbill. And in terms of photography, it's always challenge to get the correct color of the bill when you photograph the broadbill. Yes. And next, I'll move on to black and yellow broadbill towards the left-hand side, right? This is the broadbill. It is pretty commonly seen across the lowland forest of Malaysia. So most of the forest you visit in Malaysia, this bird you will definitely, there are a lot of high chances to see the black and yellow broadbill. So we used to call this broadbill as a cartoon bird because it looks like a cartoon character. This broadbill, and it has a vibrant colored beaks as well. And the back, so the backside view of the broadbill is stunning. The yellow color, pattern it has, and also the white collar. This is something unique about the black and yellow broadbill. And I would say, Malaysia, this is pretty much easy broadbill to picture and photograph as well as to see. And the next broadbill is the banded broadbill. It's pretty similar to black and yellow broadbill, but the only difference is if you see the head part, it is black and yellow broadbill is kind of black color, but it is kind of dark brown. Okay, but in terms of the yellow pattern in the wings, it is similar to black and yellow broadbill. Banded broadbill is something not that easy bird to see in Peninsular Malaysia, but it is there. And the top, this is definitely a special bird because this is endemic to Borneo, and the color of the green color is so vibrant. So first, initially when I saw the bird, I was thinking whiteheads. Where is the white here? Because it's completely green, right? So then I understood that the whitehead is name of the British scientist Whitehead's John. So he's the person who did the research on this broadbill. He's the one who discovered this broadbill patterns and all. So that is the reason it is called Whitehead's broadbill. But typically it is green broadbill as such. So apart from these broadbills, there are other broadbills, silver-breasted broadbill and long-tailed broadbill, which is pretty common in India. That's the reason I'm not put the picture here. And it is pretty common to photograph in Malaysia also. I would say in India, I'm not sure it is pretty common or not, but it's always, during the season, it is always chance to see the bird, right? And another broadbill is the dusky broadbill. Dusky broadbill is the broadbill which is not so beautiful when compared to other broadbills. Right, it's pretty ordinary broadbill as such, right? Now I will move on to pheasant. So, okay, there are different partridges in Malaysia, right? So these are the stunning.
Excuse me, Anand, can you be a bit louder? The audio is low. Kavita Raja was telling. கொஞ்சம் பக்கத்துல வந்து பேசுங்க இல்ல மைக் பக்கத்துல வச்சுக்காங்க.
ஓகே மேம்.
கேமரா பார்த்தும் பேசலாம். கேமரா பார்த்தும் அந்த மைக் பக்கத்துல வச்சு பேசலாம். ஆடியோ
ஓகே மேம். So how is the audio now?
Guys, please close your other windows. Okay, maybe if the other windows are open, the bandwidth will be slowed down. Your audio will be, it looks like lagging. Please, all the audience and viewers, my Facebook friends, please close other windows, other any video, YouTube windows, please close it so that you can hear audio clearly. Thank you. Yeah, please carry on.
Okay, ma'am. So I will try to raise my voice. So it is clear now.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks,
yes, yes.
Okay, thanks, ma'am.
Kavita Raja, now it's clear. You have to check your video also. Okay. If your bandwidth is slow, then your audio must be lagging from your end. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I will proceed then. And these are the pheasant and partridges of Malaysia. So first will be the crested fireback. The specialty of this bird is similar to Indian peacock, right? It has the crest, and the overall head skin, right? It's striking blue, and overall blue, and it has the fireback, the backside of the bird. And this bird is pretty much common across the Taman Negara forest. So it is pretty common. If you go to Taman Negara forest, you will not miss this bird. And Malaysian partridge. So this is special bird because this is one of the endemic birds in Peninsular Malaysia. So in Peninsular Malaysia, there are few endemic birds. Malaysian partridge is one of the endemic birds. This is pretty commonly seen across Fraser Hill, right? And it is pretty much, has the gray pattern over it. And, the eyes lids has the pink color over it. And overhead it has white pattern as well. And mountain peacock pleasant at the bottom right, the bottom left is another endemic bird which belongs to Peninsular Malaysia as well. This is one of the striking bird. And here, if you notice, the peacock pheasant, it doesn't have the crest. That is unique about this bird. Typically, most of the peacock pheasant will have the crest, right? So it doesn't have the crest. And if you see the wings, right, it has a lot of blue dots over it, makes it so vibrant. And during the courtship display, so it has the wings. When it spread the wings, it has the green color pattern in it. That is striking as well. And the next bird towards the right, the bottom right, is the Pheregeus partridge. Pretty much predominantly it has the rufous colored and black and white dots over there. So Here, if you see Malaysian partridge, peacock pleasant, and Ferrugious partridge, these are more of mountain birds. I mean, like it is there in the high altitude mountains. And crested fireback, it's more of the lowland forest bird, right? Now, the
Wow.
trogons.
Dragons. Everyone favorite birds and both elusive also. Even some Western Ghats is also all elusive, you know?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. So, Malaysia, you have a lot of stunning trogons, ma'am.
Yes.
Like, there are two more trogons as well, right? And here, the scarlet trump trogon, right, which is the first bird towards the left, it resembles similar to Malabar trogon.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
if you see, it's like similar to Malabar trogon. Only
The
difference.
white bro is not there, correct?
Yes, ma'am. That is one thing, and another one is the scarlet rump, the reddish
Oh, yes.
rump here.
Hmm.
So that is the key differentiator of this bird. So sometimes, it looks like a Malabar trogon.
Malabar Trogan, yes.
It's a pretty striking bird as well. So, and then the Diastrogan. So in Diastrogan, it has the, pink nape over here and overall black head and then, reddish, belly over here. And scarlet trump trogon is pretty commonly seen across the lowland forest.
Okay.
And Diastrogan is not so common, but you can actually easily see Diastrogan and scarlet trump trogon. It's not that rarity. Mainly it is on the lowland forest. So the best way would be just to follow the Trogan's call where you can actually spot it.
Yes.
And the behavior of the Trogans is predominantly the Trogans are not migratory because it just fly, pretty close distance. So that's the reason most of the Trogans are resident, right? And red-headed Trogan is which is actually pretty easy bird. It's very common across Fraser Hill mainly. Why? Because in Fraser Hill, along the roadside, you will have a lot of lights, like street lights. So Trogan usually eats the insects, right? So, uh, early morning around 7:30, where the insects will be so much active towards the street lights. So this red-head Trogan will actually go and look for the insect. It's an easy play, right? So it'll come if from inside the forest, it will come out to the roadside, and then it will look near, the light areas, and then it will hunt the insects. So in Fraser Hill, at one point of time, I saw three male and two female red-headed Trogan just flying around and hunting insects. It was pretty exciting moment, right? And then red nape trogon, this is one of the rarest trogon to actually find in Peninsular Malaysia. So it has the red nape you see here. It has the red nape, and overall around the eyes, it's like a blue skin around the eyes, and black head, and it has the white like collared, yes, and then the striking red color. So these are pretty much striking trogons of Malaysia. So apart from that, there are two other trogons as well. One is endemic whitehead's trogon, similar to whitehead's broadbill. There is a whitehead's trogon. Unfortunately, I was not able to photograph it, so I missed the bird when I went over there. It's a striking bird as well. Then kingfisher.
Wow.
Yes. Malaysia, these are the pretty unique kingfishers actually, which is seen in Malaysia, right? One is the first one is the banded kingfisher. So if you see the back view of the kingfisher, you have the band like blue and black band over there. It has the blue crown and brown over the head. And banded kingfisher is one of the stunning birds, and the female is pretty beautiful compared to male as well. It is kind of a brown pattern, and it is pretty striking bird as well. Banded kingfisher female, right? And the next kingfisher, which is towards the right, is the Bornean banded kingfisher. So when I say Bornean banded kingfisher, it looks similar to banded kingfisher, but it's endemic to Borneo. and the major difference will be the black portion of the head, and the color is bit different. The pattern of the color is bit different in this banded kingfisher. And Borneo banded kingfisher is one of the rarest kingfisher to see and photograph. So this was photographed in RDC in Borneo. Right, banded kingfisher is pretty much across the peninsula Malaysia as well as Borneo. And Rufous collared kingfisher, yes, as the name Rufous collared, it has the Rufous collared here, right? And green crown, and I really like the green and bluish. It's kind of velvet blue. It has. It's so amazing kingfisher.
What a color
Beautiful.
combination, Anand. है ना? What
Yes,
a
ma'am.
color combination. Are they really looking this much small? It looks so small in the pictures. What
Yes,
is
yes.
the size of the kingfisher, Anand?
Oh,
Tiny.
Rufous collared kingfisher, it's a pretty big size kingfisher, ma'am,
Okay.
actually.
Maybe white-throated kingfisher, the size will be like white.
Yes, yes. Typically, it will be like white-throated kingfisher.
Okay,
size.
okay.
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
because of the angle, it's different. But
Yes.
getting clear background pose like this very tough. No, I know how many shots you tried. It looks
Actually, like
but I know how difficult to get photograph like this. No,
yes, ma'am.
they're very tiny and they're very fast also.
Yes,
But
yes.
so colorful. Yeah, please carry on.
Oh, and this Rufous collared kingfisher is always quite close to me because I was trying this kingfisher for quite some time, so 3-4 years. And unfortunately, whenever I go, I was not able to photograph. All my friends used to photograph.
Okay.
Like thinking, why I don't have luck
No,
with
you know one thing, because you have to go now next time. If you
Next
get
time.
all the birds in one trip, then you won't be going again.
So every time I miss, and then when my friends go and say, "Hey, I took the picture of this Rufous collar," and I was lucky enough last year to photograph it. Yes, with my friends. Yes, and Rufous back kingfisher, it is sometimes called a subspecies of the Oriental drab kingfisher,
Yes, yes.
where when compared to Orient drab kingfisher, it lacks the blue on the backside of the view. So more predominantly, it's like Rufous is around, right? So I'm not sure whether it's completely a subspecies or not. It's considered as a subspecies. So this is one of the bird to look after as well. So these are the stunning kingfishers of Malaysia. Then laughing thrushes.
Oh.
Yeah. So the good part about this laughing thrush, right? Even it's Malayan laughing thrush, or chestnut cap laughing thrush, or the Misia, the silver in the Misia. These are so striking birds, and these are very common bird across Fraser Hill. You will definitely not miss if you go to Fraser Hill.
And they come with a group also. You can hear from distance itself the sound
Yes,
calls the voice. No, I got three of them in my last visit to Fraser Hill.
Okay.
But whenever they come with group and with happy birds. I usually say these birds are very happy. They are very active, and seems to be the sound is also, the activities also looks like a very happy. You know?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Usually come. Great.
Mainly the Misia, right? It is.
I love Misia.
Like 20 or 50 birds, come in a group, and the color is so vibrant. So this is something called as a star bird of Fraser Hill.
Yes.
Silver and Misia. So definitely Fraser Hill, nobody will miss these three birds. And best part is these birds are not that quite simple to photograph or see in any other part of the world. Even it is India or even in Thailand, it is not that easy to photograph this bird. So, and one good thing about Fraser Hill is the birds are quite used to the human habitat.
Yes, yes.
And the Malayan laughing thrush and chestnut cap laughing thrush, so it is pretty much there, across the Thailand as well, but not that easy. You can actually see these birds in other part of the South.
Even I find it in the roadside also when we are going for birding, because there is not many buses and the Fraser Hill, no buses one place. And these birds are very colorful. You know?
Yes, ma'am.
I think God is really great. Yeah, he's, I think, great magician, great painter. I don't know, see the combination: white, black, red, and what is it, gray also.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I think I pressed it. Okay, and silver and Misia say this is pretty easy to find what is male and female. So in the male, right, and there is a red vent here. So that is where you can easily find, okay, this is a male bird and which lacks in the female. I was lucky enough to capture male and female in one frame. So there we can easily identify the difference. Right? And then Malayalam laughing thrush is another striking bird. And chestnut cap laughing thrush. So name suggested, right? It has the chestnut cap, right? And also it is called a spectacle laughing thrush due to the white color spectacle around the eyes. It has another name as well. And the bird which is next to the chestnut cap is the chestnut hooded laughing thrush. Okay, it looks similar, but it is not similar, because if you see the chestnut over here, it's like a hood here. So this bird is part of endemic bird of Borneo. So that is special here. So this bird is special because it's an endemic bird and it is pretty much there in the Borneo only, right? Then barbet. So in entire Malaysia, this is my favorite barbet, the fire-tufted barbet. So so always whenever I see the fire-tufted barbet, I end up with taking a close picture of this barbet because of the striking colors it has. And it has the fire tuft, right? And also it has the various colors, green color and then the yellow color. It is kind of ring, right? The yellow color and the black color. It's kind of a necklace, I would say. So and the beak, if you notice, there is one black line over there in the beak. So it has stunning colors over the entire head itself. Fire-tufted barbet, and this is one of the barbets in Fraser Hill. Definitely, you will not miss if you are into Fraser Hill, right? And next thing is golden whisker barbet. And this is one of the striking barbet where it has the golden whisker and on the red color around the head and the black color around the eyes, and black brown barbet as well. You can see a lot of colors. The good thing about the barbet is like the entire head part, right, has so vibrant colors. And all these three barbets, the one speciality about these three barbets are these barbets are available in Peninsular Malaysia and then in Sumatra, which is part of Indonesia. So not in any rest of the world. So Sumatra being a dense forest, it's always very tough to find the birds or photograph these barbets in Indonesia. So the best place will be the Malaysia to explore all the barbets. And if you see the black brown barbet, right, and the best time would be the fruiting season, where when there is a fruiting tree, all these barbets will be, can see it very easily. And not only barbets, the pigeons and then the bulbuls, all will come to the fruiting tree and feed the fruiting tree. It will be like, it will be waiting.
Food is main draw, Anand. Wherever people are asking where to find birds, means food is main draw, food and water. If you find any fruit trees and flower trees also, when the flowering also, it's a good time. Early morning, you just wait there. Minimum, I think, 5-10 species you can get. Even India also.
Definitely.
There, any flower tree, fruit trees, berries and all, any wild places, even the city itself, if you find, wait for them, definitely you'll get 4-5 species, minimum 10 species of birds. Okay.
Definitely, ma'am. Because even in KL, there is a botanical garden.
Yes,
Botanical garden, where there during the fruiting time, you can see amazing birds actually. Even there is a dove called jumbo fruit dove.
Okay.
I desperately want to picture it, but I could not able to picture until now.
Even all the nectar feeding birds, no? With flowering, the nectar feeding birds will start like spider hunter and other sunbirds. They are nectar feeding. Whenever the flowering is there, definitely they will come. Yeah. Easy to photograph also. That is the time easy to photograph them.
Yes, ma'am. So that is the time you just wait there and then put your tripod and wait there. That's all. All birds will come there.
Yes, waiting. We have to wait. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Rail babbler. This is one of the. So it is pretty very unique bird. I would say this is in the entire babbler family. This is one of the pretty unique bird. That's why I have a separate slide for this particular bird, the rail babbler. And if you see, it has a long neck and long tail and a long leg, right? And the white color pattern over the head, it's pretty unique. And this is the bird where it belongs to one family where there is no related birds at all. That is one specialty about this
Yeah,
bird.
the name is Babler, but it doesn't look like Babler. Babler is
Yes,
different. No, we have seven sister and all. That is a different thing.
yes,
And
ma'am.
even the body is also unique. I am seeing
Very
first
unique,
time.
ma'am. Yes, yes, definitely, ma'am. That is one. It's not that simple bird to see and photograph. It's
Yes.
pretty rare bird in Peninsula Malaysia.
Mm.
And another unique about this bird is it's called rail babbler because it has the rail call. Coo, coo, when it comes right in the forest. So
Mm.
it will do like it will have a rail call, right? So that is where oh, rail babbler is nearby. That's how you can find it.
Okay.
And another unique feature about this rail babbler is whenever it calls, right? Whenever it calls, if you see the first image, right, the left, it doesn't have the blue color, right, and the throat. When it
Yes,
calls,
yes. Mm.
when it calls, that is where the blue color is visible. That is what
Wow.
the true picture is there.
Wow,
So
that is an
if
incredible new thing, no? Wow.
yes,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
And
So if you see the big picture here, right? So
yes.
typically it will lay down and then it will move the head up and then it will call. So that
Wow.
is where you can see the two blue color over there in the
Okay.
in this particular area. So that is a pretty unique feature of this.
Unique, yes, yes, unique. And you got it very well. And all the colors, friend profile you got. Raghavan is asking, can you compare with Babler, Mr. Anand? Babler is different. We can't even compare. Maybe the
We
name.
cannot even,
Raghavan. Yeah. Yes.
cannot even compare. Man. That's
You
why.
can't even compare, yeah. And this is unique feature also. When it calls, so you can see the blue stripe.
Yes,
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 yeah. Please carry on.
yes. So okay, this is pretty much covered on the birds of Malaysia. So there are pretty lot of birds as well. Lot of birds to explore. Different bulbuls and a lot of birds actually in Malaysia. So what I have just run through is which are the birds which are pretty striking and in terms of rarity as well. Right. And next will be birds of Singapore. So when I say Singapore, right, most of the friends will say, "Oh, Jurong Birds Park." They say, "Okay, most of the birds will be in Jurong Birds Park." I say, "No, it is not like that." So Singapore
Dog
is
Bird
not
Park
Jurong
is a
Birds.
big zoo. It's a captive bird.
Yes, yes, it is pretty much zoo, right? Yes, obviously, as bird photographers or birders, wild birds always the interest, right? So,
Yes.
Singapore, there are definitely a lot of birding can be explored in Singapore. So I've just say there are around 400 species, around 400 species in Singapore,
Wow.
and there are a lot of introduced species in Singapore. When I say introduced species, right, these are the birds which are actually pet birds, or they've been released from cage, and then it actually goes to wild, and then it gets survive in wild.
Okay.
So that is what the introduced species are, right? It has quite a number of introduced species. And then in terms of birding spot, say Pulau Bin, say Pulau Bin is an island, so this is where the Pulau Bin is from Singapore. Singapore is a pretty small island, right? So and uh, and birding around Singapore is pretty easy. Easy in the sense that the transport is very easy. It's well connected, the metro and buses and all. And there are quite number of birding places there. It's more of urban birding, I would say. Why? Because 90% or I would say 85 to 90% is all urbanized in Singapore. The remaining 50% is, it's a park or gardens or nature reserve, right? So that is where you can go and explore the birds of Singapore, right? So I've just listed down the birds here, the Pulau Bin and then Lorong Halus wetland, Singapore Botanic Garden. Singapore Botanic is one of the hot tourist spot, but there are a lot of birds to see in Botanical Garden also. And Satha by the Bay, Satha by the Bay is a garden by the bay. Most of who would have went right to Garden by the Bay. So there are a lot of birds around that area also.
And actually, this is new for me also news, Anand, because usually when we ask even Singapore border also is any good place to photograph. When I been to Malaysia, no Singapore not many places to photograph. We usually go for Malaysia. So and you are telling Singapore you have lot of 400 360 species means it's a great destination for birding. Only if you know where to find. You know?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Only say say if you are say we can explore definitely a lot of birds
Yes,
around
sir.
Singapore.
Yeah, bird photographers, please write down all the places birding hotspot. And Singapore also, Singapore is easy to go. Most of
So Singapore, it's more a family vacation, right, ma'am?
yes,
So
yes, yeah,
any
family
friends,
vacation. You can do along with this 1 or 2 days, you can cover these birding places and all. No? Whenever
yes,
I
yes. So
ask, they said no, Singapore not many birds. And they go, we usually go for Malaysia or Borneo and all. No? This is news for me.
okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Because any friends they ask, I will say, hey, my birding photographer, I say, please carry your camera. I will tell you exactly where you need to find them. Yeah. So
Great.
that is pretty interesting. And the best season will be September to April. That is where the migrant birds will arrive in Singapore. So now next I will cover birds of Singapore. Right. So these are the birds of Singapore. It's pretty common. It's easy to look around and then see and photograph. Right. What I've listed out it basically what all the types of bird you can look around in Singapore. The first, my favorite bird will be the sunbird in Singapore, right? And then pigeons and dove, various type of kingfisher, and lot of owls. When I say owls, those are all resident owls. So definitely it will be all around the year, right? And also the nightjars and pitta as well in Singapore, and hornbills, bee eaters, and there are a lot of introduced species as well.
Okay.
Sunbirds, right? Singapore has a lot of gardens, botanical gardens, Japanese gardens. So it has a lot of flowers, rich flowers where these sunbirds, as Atika ma'am said, so where it will come to nectars and the sunbirds will feed around the nectars here. So the first picture what you're seeing is the brown-throated sunbird. So wherein the lotus flower, it is trying to feed the nectar in the lotus flower. And this, like few of them ask, few of my friends ask, hey, why you reverse the actually the flower, the banana flower? I say I didn't reverse. It is actually the flower in Singapore. It's pretty unique.
Okay.
In India, it is like it from top to bottom,
Top
right?
to bottom. Even I was wondering. Okay. Yeah.
But here the banana flower will be from bottom to top.
Bottom to top. Wow.
So actually, I didn't reverse the word. It is actual brand.
But see the color combination: yellow and brown, and the flower also pink. What a color combination. Wow.
Yes, ma'am. So here you can actually wait around places where you can find the gardens. Mainly, there are a lot of flowers. If you wait around there, you can get a lot of stunning frames. If you are a serious photographer, obviously you look for some stunning frames or the flowers, so colorful and very beautiful to see also. So I always go, and whenever I just go to the botanical garden, I just wait on one particular flower and then see when it is actually coming, and then coming for the nectar, and then just photograph it. Usually the sunbirds are active in the early morning around 7:30 to 8. That is where it will be very active. And the brown-throated sunbird, so female, which is on the lotus flower, and the male, which has the brown throat and also has a striking color. Right, this is pretty unique sunbird. It's common across Southeast Asia. And olive back sunbird, and it has olive back. It is also called as yellow-bellied sunbird. And this bird is a male sunbird, flower. And Van Helsing sunbird. This is another striking sunbird which has vibrant colors like pink color throat, and then a green color crown, and also black color towards the eye. It is pretty striking sunbird as well. These are all resident birds. So these sunbirds are pretty much available all over the year. It's always there. And also the crimson sunbird. And crimson sunbird is pretty common across the garden as well. So Singapore sunbird is one bird which you can definitely look after. Yeah.
Okay. Friendly birds.
Friendly birds.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And pigeons. There are a variety of pigeons, and pink-necked green pigeon is one of the stunning bird as well, and it is very common. If you go to any national reserve or nature reserve or any gardens, the pink-necked green pigeon is everywhere. So you can easily see the pink-necked guinea pig, and it is pretty
But it looks like
colorful.
a red-breasted, pink.
This one is pink, ma'am. Actually,
Okay,
the
pink.
color here is pink, and it has the orange breast,
Yes.
pink and orange breast. Overall, its body is a green color, so it is called pink neck because it has the pink color over the neck. Yes, and the bottom by the zebra dove. This is say difference between the pigeon and dove is like pigeons are bigger size and doves are smaller. That's a pretty common difference. And this zebra is a pretty small bird. And if you see, it has the kind of zebra pattern in it, and it has the pink breast as well. This is it is typically I shot it when it was actually walking in the road. So it is pretty much urban bird. It's commonly seen across apartments everywhere. Zebra dove and cinnamon-headed pigeon. This is one of the migrant bird, which is pretty rare bird to see even in Singapore. Cinnamon-headed pigeon. It's one of the rarity pigeon. And pied imperial pigeon, obviously, when you say pied, it has black and white color. Right. This is typically how the pigeons will be feeding on the fruiting trees. So when there is a fruiting trees, then the high chance all the pigeons and other birds will come and look after the food. Kingfishers. These are the kingfishers of Singapore. So here, one say collared kingfisher, common kingfisher, stockbill kingfisher, pretty common in India as well. And, common in the sense, I'm sorry, it is very common in Singapore, not that so common in India.
But India, its name is common, but it's not easy to find common. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But stockbill also we have. The other kingfisher also we have. White color is also, I think, mangrove we are having. Sundarban.
Yes, ma'am. Mainly it is in Andaman and Goa region. It is there. But one thing about which I want to highlight about collared kingfisher in Singapore is the collared kingfisher is everywhere. Like how we see the pied kingfisher, right, in India.
Okay. Common.
It's very common. So if you go to any park, you just go out of the HDB, you can see the collared kingfisher.
Okay.
So that common. So you can easily photograph collared kingfisher in Singapore. And the stockbill kingfisher also pretty common. And ruddy kingfisher is not common. It's a migrant bird. So during migrant season, there's a high chance you can actually photograph ruddy kingfisher as well in Singapore. And common kingfisher. The common kingfisher is actually migrant in Singapore, migrant bird. Okay. So usually it comes in January and then it'll be there for 3-4 months. The unique about the common kingfisher in Singapore is the photograph or frame you get. It's you will get a stunning frames like on the lotus flower bird or on the lotus flower. So you can actually
great perching also. Only A to side. Great perching, beautiful perching also, and background also it be great.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So Garden by the Bay, there is a lotus pond. So Garden by the Bay being a best tourist destination, and Garden by the Bay there is a kingfisher pond. So you can see a big kingfisher statue over there. And in reality, there is a kingfisher.
Okay.
So, common kingfisher will actually come to the lotus pond, and then it will perch on the lotus bud or flowers, and then it will look around. It will take time to look for the fish, and then it will hunt the fish and come back to the lotus
same
place. So that is something unique. If you want to picture common kingfisher around the lotus flower, there's something you can actually explore in Singapore as well.
Okay.
Yeah. These are the owls actually, which is pretty much all the owls are resident owls in Singapore. Okay. And brown hawk owl, usually these owls are seen in pairs. So the bigger size is the male, and then the smaller size is the female. So this is a typical habitat, where this brown hawk owl will be roosting, and it is pretty commonly seen in Hinde Nature Reserve. And the buffy fish owl, this is one of the owl which is, if you see here, the buffy fish owl, it has only one eyes, right? Why there's we are not sure about the reason it lost its one eyes. And it's pretty much seen in Pasir Ris Park in Singapore. So it is actually used to hunt the fish in the evening. I noticed probably after 6 o'clock or around 6 o'clock in the evening, it will actually come to one particular area, and then it look for the fish, and then it will hunt the fish. I witnessed it. So with the one eye, it used to hunt the fish, and it's still surviving. So that is one unique about this buffy fish owl. And there are buffy fish owl are commonly seen across other part of Singapore as well.
Yeah, it looks like a tiny fish owl, Anand, है ना? Little bit the front body, back plumage and all, no?
Yes.
And even the head, that kombu looks like tiny, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
And Sundas Kubal, so this Sundas Kubal is pretty much on the palm tree. So if you look around the palm tree habitat, you can actually find the Sundas Kubal. And this is one of the toughest Kubal. Obviously, the Kubals are always tough. You know, it will be hiding. You can see only the eyes or few part of the body. So it is always tough to spot and photograph the Sundas Kubal. All right. And then the spotted wooden owl. So if you go to Pasir Ris Park, right, there are spotted wood owl family. So there you can easily find a spot, 2 or 3 owls over there. So that is unique in Pasir Ris Park. So and then Sarvana Niger. So one say this is where the Niger actually you can photograph in open. So usually the Niger, right, it will be in the ground wherein you cannot see the legs of the Niger. Typically, it's very rare to see the legs of the Niger. So it will be on the ground. So there is a place in Singapore, Tampines Eco Green, where I quite often see Nigers, perching in open, where it gives a good opportunity in day roosting itself, where you can see you can photograph pretty open, where this is where you can see the overall leg and the overall bird, which is quite open. So this is pretty rare actually in terms of Niger. And pitas, yes, Singapore you can also find pitas, right? And hooded pitta and blue-winged pitta are migrant pittas. So during the migrant season, these pittas are quite commonly seen across, the botanical gardens or nature reserve. And the hooded pitta, which was photographed, what you're seeing here is in Botanical Garden, Singapore Botanical Garden. And the blue-winged pitta, the blue-winged pitta is like it actually it's a migrant bird, and it was there in a particular apartments park. So once it migrates, and then it stayed the complete 3 months in the apartment park itself. So whenever you go to the apartments and if you look around the park, the blue-winged pitta is around there, and then jumping around and feeding. So this pittas are pretty used to humans, and then pitta adapt to the urban life, right? And mangrove pitta is one of the resident pitta actually in Singapore. So it is quite commonly seen in Pulau Ubin Island. So which you need to take a ferry from Singapore mainland and go to Pulau Ubin. So where typically it is around the mangrove habitat. So Pulau Ubin, you have the mangrove habitat where you can actually look the mangrove pitta. Right. So these are the 3 common pittas. I mean 3 pittas you can actually look around in Singapore. And hornbills as well. So pied hornbills is pretty common. Hornbills across Singapore, it is pretty commonly seen. And black hornbill is something it's pretty rarely seen in Singapore. Right, and these are the 2 hornbills actually. So black hornbill is a migrant bird, and pied hornbill is resident and seen everywhere in most of the places in the parks, right? Bee eaters. So here in Singapore, blue-throated bee eater is one bee eater actually, which is pretty special, right? It has the blue throat in it, and this bird is actually migrant. Migrates from Indonesia, and then it's a winter. It breeds in Singapore. So it typically migrates, and then it builds a nest. So typically the bee eater will build a nest in the ground, the grasses. So it will come here and it will do the breeding in Singapore, and then it will fly back. That is one specialty about the bee eater. And the first picture which you are seeing here is the bee eater usually it feeds on the bees and then it feeds on the ants. So here, usually the bee eater, it will toss the prey. So where, it toss the ant and then it catches and then it eats. And blue-tailed bee eater is one migrant as well. Both the bee eaters are migrant. It's pretty common in India as well. So in terms of bee eater, these are the two bee eaters of Singapore. And then I move on to the introduced species, right? Introduced species are these are the species. All these introduced species are photographed in wild. So these are species which actually release and get quite adapted to the environment. And one interesting bird in Singapore is pintail vaita. It's basically an African bird, right? It is a stunning bird where it has a long tail. And very unique about this bird is the male and female is completely different. The female bird is so tiny compared to the male bird. So this picture is like a photograph when it tries to attract the female. Courtship display when it tries to do, that is where this photograph was freezed, right? And it is pretty often it done during the breeding season, right? And I've also seen pintail vaita juveniles, meaning like it successfully it has done the breeding in Singapore as well. So that is something unique, how the introduced species are being adapted to the environment, right? Even if it is not a native bird, it gets adapted, right? And the other birds to talk about is the white-crested laughing thrush. This is pretty much common in Bukit Batok, where it is more of high altitude hills birds, right? It pretty much adapt to Singapore environment where it is very commonly seen. That's where I was able to photograph 4 birds, in one frame, where it's pretty commonly seen like 10, 15 birds in a group. White-crested laughing
They
thrush.
usually they go group only, when laughing
Yes.
thrush. It's in
Yes.
our Himalayan also you will get Patal's Sadal and all. It's
Yes.
a common bird, but still it's group only it comes. Very white is very very beautiful also. People asking how why it's called laughing. The call is like a group of people are laughing. We can
Okay.
see from very far itself. In
Okay.
Karnataka, we know they move as a group, and the call is like a laughing someone, no? That's why they're
Yeah.
laughing through us. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Next one.
So I will pretty much these are the waxbills which are introduced species of Singapore as well. These are the stunning waxbills, and if you see the golden back beaver, it has the nest, and then it is like Baya beaver where it builds a nest in Singapore itself. And these are the waxbills pretty get used to the environment, and it is surviving still, right? So these are pretty much on the introduced species of Singapore. I think, ma'am, I'm running out of time. I need to speed up.
Yeah, no problem. Can get it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I just want to, so this Sri Lanka, right? This is something I just want to talk about, not a part of Southeast Asia, but part of South Asia. This is one of the wonderful birding destination to me, because that is the reason I just created this slide, for Sri Lankan birds and habitat. Why? Because Sri Lanka, being a small country when compared to India, it has incredible endemic birds, right? It has 33 endemic bird species. That is quite amazing, right? Why? Because in Malaysia you have 16 endemic species, and then even in Thailand you have 4 endemic species. But in India you have 78 endemic species. But being a small country, Sri Lanka, you have 33 endemic species. That is always amazing to go and photograph. And 26 species are globally threatened, right? So majorly, if you want to explore, Sri Lanka birding, obviously Colombo will be the starting part. And if your target, so I would recommend you just go and explore, endemic species of Sri Lanka, because most of the other birds, right, it's all very common in India. So it's pretty exciting to just target the endemic species. So if you are targeting the endemic species, I would say Singaraja forest, which has 80% of the endemic species. in Sri Lanka. Singaraja Forest is the best place to explore, and also the Houghton Plains National Park. If you cover, these two parks, definitely you will be able to cover 33 endemic species. So last year I was able to cover 25 endemic species in Sri Lanka. Yeah. So Bandula and Yala National Park, it's more of, Bandula is more of shore birds and water birds. To me, it's pretty common across India as well. So I would recommend, Singaraja Forest to explore and explore the endemic birds. Now I will cover the endemic birds of Sri Lanka. So these are the stunning birds, actually, endemic birds of Sri Lanka. So I just plan to visit Sri Lanka and plan for the trip mainly because of one bird, which is Sri Lankan blue magpie. This is the bird which I really, I was crazy about because of the color it has, the blue color and the dark brown, and the beak and the eyelid, the iris. It's like a striking red color. It's such an amazing bird. And when I saw the bird first time, when I was waiting in the Singaraja counter, I saw like 5 or 6 Sri Lankan blue magpie flying around. I was pretty much excited. So it is very much common across, Singaraja forest. So you will definitely not miss it. And Sri Lankan hanging parrot, it is similar to Verna hanging parrot. The only difference will be the red color crown, right? So this is typically the Sri Lankan hanging parrot on the wet look. So when we were driving around the Singaraja forest in the car, then I saw the bird, perching, the stem over there, and then it was actually, there are 5 hanging parrot, it was actually completely wet. It was drizzling and then it was preening, and it was really amazing to see and photograph. I also took some videos of it. And gray hornbill, obviously it is one of the unique bird, endemic bird. So whatever we are seeing here is all endemic. All endemic. The only, if you want to see photograph, you need to travel to Sri Lanka. No other part of the world that is special, right? And Sri Lankan grey hornbill has the horn, as typical hornbill has the beak, has a larger beak and the creamy color beak. And yellow-fronted barbet has the yellow front, and this is one of the striking endemic birds as well. It has the blue color pattern, and then the green is pretty prominent. The barbet as well. So the endemic bird continues of Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka's spurfowl, this is one of the striking bird, but it's one of the challenging bird. It's pretty shy bird and always low light, and it's always very challenging to photograph this bird. And it has, the black and white dots over the spurfowl is just amazing, right? And this is also a endemic spurfowl. And Sri Lankan green pigeon, right? The major the Sri Lankan green pigeon, over the head part, it has the green and yellow color pattern. And Sri Lankan jungle fowl is pretty common in Singaraja forest as well. So this Sri Lankan jungle fowl is the national bird of Sri Lanka. And Serendip school owl. So this is one of the owl which has been recently discovered. So it is critically endangered species. It's pretty rare owl, and it has been discovered in 1968, if I'm not wrong, right? And it has been seen in the Singaraja forest from 2010 or so. 2010 or so. And I was fortunate to capture this Serendip school owl, male and female together. It's a typical habitat of Serendip school owl. So I will move on to Thailand birding, right? So now I will try to wind it fast, right, due to the time constraint, right? So if you want to explore, Thailand, has quite number of species, around 1,000 species, and it has pretty less endemic birds because most of the birds are, it covers, Himalayan bird as well as Peninsula Malaysia. So it covers most of the birds, but there are few special, like, birds to target in Thailand as well, which you can look forward, right? And in Thailand birding, so first it is actually kind of 3 regions, right? In central Thailand, and then the southern Thailand, and then central Thailand, and then the northern Thailand. So if you want to explore central Thailand, it is Bangkok, where you need to arrive there. All the birding spots around or nearby. KKC is one, KKC National Park, Khao Hai, are the hot birding spots in central Thailand, right? And best season would be March to June. This is where the migrant as well as breeding season. So this will be the best season in central Thailand. Southern Thailand. So if you want to bird explore southern Thailand, it will be you need to arrive Krabi or Phuket. From there, Sri Panang National Park is nearby. So and also the Krabi mangrove area. So in southern Thailand, in central Thailand, you have variety of birds. Right, you can target a lot of birds around central Thailand in KKC. In southern Thailand, you can target a few specific birds, star birds, kind of banded pitta and blue banded kingfisher. You can target the rarities, right? In southern Thailand, also the green broadbill and different kind of hornbills, right? And northern Thailand, which is on the top of the Thailand, it is more of you can see a lot of Himalayan birds, flycatcher, thrush, which is pretty common in northern Thailand, Chiang Mai, Doi Lang and Doi Ang Kahang. So that is the reason I didn't explore northern Thailand, because most of the birds are common across the Himalayan range. So that is the reason I just want to explore central Thailand and southern Thailand. So in central Thailand, these are the pretty unique birds and pretty common birds actually in KKC National Park. One is the blue pitta, which is definitely a striking bird. The blue color overall, and then the front portion, it has the striking dots over it. And then the common green magpie. It says common, but I don't think so. It's common. It is a pretty stunning bird as well, common green magpie, and racket tail tree pie. This is one of the star birds in central Thailand, right? It has a vibrant, I can say it's like a greenish black, right? And towards the eyes, it has a striking, glowing black color. So it is one of the really a stunning bird to watch and photograph, right, in central Thailand. And then the Oriental screwball, it is pretty commonly seen owl in central Thailand. And then the orange-breasted togan. So orange-breasted togan, so it has, the color is lacked here because the orange color is lacked in orange because it's a female. And these are the pretty common birds we can look after in the central Thailand. Then I'll move on to southern Thailand. This is the bird which is pretty colorful bird, banded pitta. It has, so the first two are the male pittas, and then the last is the female. The female is also striking as well. So if you see the various color, right? So southern Thailand, this will be one of the bird to look after actually. So it is in the Sri Panang National Park, and it's a pretty stunning bird, right? And then the kingfishers of South Thailand, right? A blue banded kingfisher. This is critically endangered species of, and it is pretty not quite often see across Thailand as well as in Malaysia. It is there in Malaysia also, but it has the blue band over it. And the first picture is the male, and then the second picture is the female. This is a bird which is pretty special, right, in terms of vibrant colors and in terms of rarity. So in southern Thailand, I was actually trekking inside the forest for quite long time, and probably waited for almost 6 hours to actually photograph this bird, because it was very shy and very challenging to photograph this kingfisher. And the brown wing kingfisher is one of the common bird around Thailand, right, in Krabi region, and also the red kingfisher. Right. Birds of Indonesia. So birds of Indonesia, there are Indonesia birding is quite vast, right, and it has a lot of species, around 1,748 species. It has the most number of species in Southeast Asia, and the best part of Indonesia is around 450 are endemic. So if you go to Indonesia, whatever you capture, it will be like, wow, this is endemic bird. So that is stunning about Indonesia, right? And In terms of region, it is geographically split. One part will be the Java, East Java, which you're seeing here. Another part will be the Sulawesi over here, and then the Sumatra. So it has a variety of birds, but birding in Indonesia is always tough because you need to travel to each location. You need to take a local flight and then move to a different location. And even inside, if you want to walk around the forest, it's not that easy when compared to Thailand, Malaysia or Thailand. But it has a lot of stunning birds, right? So Sulawesi, Halmera, and then the East Java and Kirinich National Park in Sumatra are the hotspots in Thailand. Yes. So in East Java, this is where I have explored. So this is the bird which you need to look after in East Java, the Javan banded pitta. So earlier it is Malayalam banded pitta. This one is Javan banded pitta. So it is available only in Java, and it has a striking, yellow and black color over the head and also over the, breast over here. And two pictures are the front and front portion and the side picture of the Javan pitta, and another striking bird, which is the pink-headed fruit dove. All these birds are endemic to East Java, Indonesia. And then the kingfisher, the Javan kingfisher, and this is one of the endemic kingfisher as well. And the sacred kingfisher, it looks pretty much similar to collared kingfisher, white collared kingfisher, but it is actually a resident species of Australia and New Zealand, and it migrates to Indonesia. And the difference will be the collared kingfisher, the front portion will be completely white, and here it is not white. It has the light brown color over it. That is the difference in collared kingfisher. And Cerulean kingfisher, it's a tiny kingfisher with pretty striking blue color and white. So these are the pretty striking birds of the East Java. Right. So yes, ma'am. With that, I have covered most of the colorful as well as interesting
birds. Yes, great.
Yes.
I think 1,700. You can stop the over, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yeah. Please close the stop the screen.
Yes, ma'am. I'll stop the screen sharing now.
Okay. Yeah, and it was really wonderful session, Anand, and we got to know so many colorful birds. And Indonesia, Singapore's surprise, of course, it's never expected. And other Malaysian person are very surprised. We have got hi Sedukannan, thank you. We got some interesting questions from the audience. Sumati Bhaskar is asking, Mr. Anand, what is your most favorite bird? One from Malaysia, one from Singapore, and why? Short question, short answer. Running out of time. Yeah.
Okay. In Malaysia, it will be the black and yellow broadbill, which is always my favorite bird. Okay. And in Singapore, it will be jumbo fruit dove, which I'm yet to photograph. It's my favorite bird. Yeah.
So Prashant is asking, what settings of camera you use while birding and type of lens camera body?
I use Nikon D500 and Nikon 600mm prime for birding.
Okay.
So and also I've used Nikon 300mm f4 as well. Okay. So in most of the Southeast Asia birding, you may need a proper tripod because most of the areas are low light and it's always challenging to picture the birds. Not a good light.
Need tripod, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And Morgan is asking, what is the difference between dove and pigeon? Different. Family itself different.
Families are different, and the very common answer what I have is the size. Like a pigeon is always bigger and dove is always smaller. That is what
and
even
usually dove we usually go with ground and all. They love walking. Pigeon won't walk easily.
Okay.
Unless until the rock pigeon, they will walk. Other pigeon and all, they won't easily walk. But usually all the doves like to eat from the grounds and all. That is the word. I think I find it good difference. Okay. Sumiti is asking again, what are some birds, some of the birds found in India which can also spotted in Malaysia, Singapore? We have common birds.
Lot of common birds. As I said, kingfisher like stroke bill, white-throated kingfisher, and these are like common in India and also in Singapore, Malaysia as well. There are quite number of birds actually which is seen.
So Raghavan is asking, the barbet in India, 9 varieties are different from Southeast Asia countries. Definitely, we have varieties are different.
Yes, varieties are different. Yes.
Family is the same, but the names and also different only.
Different one, and pretty much in Malaysia, the most of the barbets are from Malaysia and also the Sumatra, Indonesia. Most of the barbets. The families are, that is not available in any other part of the world. Mainly in Indonesia and Malaysia.
Okay. And interesting question, how much does the length of pitta's tail affect the flight? Pittas actually even migrate from north to south for even Indian pitta is migrating, no?
Yes, ma'am.
But I don't think the tail affects their flight.
I didn't understand the question. What is the question?
Length of pittas. Pittas or tail, length of pittas tail affect that flight.
I'm not sure about
anyway.
But typically
they migrate, guys. I don't think
it's a local migrate, and it will not migrate to a larger distance also.
Yes, and it also took some time. They just stop over for the food and then again go there.
Yes.
It's not they won't cross intercontinental. Just inside the India they can go. So what was your favorite spot? Abhishek Iyer is asking, what was your favorite spot in South Asia and favorite in India?
A favorite spot in South Asia will be Fraser Hill for me.
Okay.
So Malaysia Fraser is always my favorite spot, and India, I would say Satal will be my favorite.
Okay, great. And Ahmad is asking, Nadeem, how to shoot small birds, particularly when perched in a bush or tree? We have to wait for them to come out.
Yeah, it's all depends. Like you need to understand the bird behavior. So where it is perching, or whether it's coming for feeding the food, or it is a regular roosting spot. So once you observe that, then there's high chance you will get a good picture of it.
And Prasanta is asking which mode you use while birding.
So I use autofocus. Aperture priority, I'm sorry.
Aperture priority, okay.
Aperture priority mode I take, because that is where I've been used to. So if I want to shoot a fly shot, I just bump up my ISO to match the shutter speed. So birding, I think aperture priority as well as manual will be the best. That's what
Lakshmi Pichaman is asking, did you get any guides in Singapore for birding?
Absolutely not. There's no such guides in Singapore.
Yeah, there is no such guide. Anyway, we'll ask the details. If you want, you can DM him for the details.
Yeah, if you want to explore Singapore birding, or if you have plans, do a message.
Rajesh is asking, are there no egrets herons in those countries? We saw mostly small birds so far. Rajesh, yes, there are big egret herons, but today that's a common bird. Even India also we find, no? So the special birds, colorful birds, that's only we concentrated today. Anand was showcasing, and for us also, herons and all, it's there. It's already everywhere. It's there.
Everywhere.
That's why we will concentrate that on. Okay, yeah. Next is, I think, yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you. You will be going to these countries frequently. If so, do you go country wise or you go one go and shoot? Raghavan is asking.
What is the question, ma'am? Can you repeat?
Frequently, you are going to these countries frequently. You go country wise or you go you go and shoot. Target species
No, I just go for a target species, ma'am. Like predominantly on the endemic species.
Okay. And Vigneswaran Anand is asking, initially how to identify birds? What will be the immediate source? Field guide.
Field guide will be the best one.
And listen calls.
Yes, listen calls.
There are a lot of source, Vigneswaran, in the internet. Indian birds, they have birds and calls also there. But inside the bush, we can't see. So usually, if you know what calls are there, then easy to know that bird is in bush, so that you can wait. That is the way to. And even South Asia birds also, we have a lot of field guides. Just Google and Amazon. For India, we have birds of Indian continent. Okay, lot of field guides are there. That is the best way to learn. Thank you, Smriti. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Hope the session was fruitful. You enjoyed also. Okay. And thank you, Anand. It was really, I enjoyed it because I love birds. And I hope most of our audience today also people who love bird photography and birds, they really love the session. Thank you so much. It was really
Thank you so
pleasant
much.
watching all through the images and getting details also. And my best wishes, you also get more speeches in your future trips. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Logged out panla. Let me say bye.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. Okay. நீங்க இது பண்ணிடலாம்ப்பா. Hope you all enjoyed the session, guys. So next week, June 6th is also, we are going to have full day webinar, and see you next week. And it's going to be, I think, full day seminar, 10 to 1 p.m. Okay, and it's a 50th World Environment Day, but it's a Friday, so we are going to celebrate June 6th full day as a webinar. 10 to 1 is morning session. The afternoon session starts 4 to 7:30. Morning session, we have great speakers, presenters are there, Mr. Aishwarya Sridhar, Mr. Jagannathan, and Mr. Balan Madhavan. And for me, I will be joining, I will be giving my photo masterclass 12 to 1. It's going to be serious photography learning, how to see colors and composition rules. So do join June 6th. Of course, 7th, we are going to have how to become wildlife filmmaker and presenter. The young, very successful photographer, Mr. Shreyas Kesari, is going to join same 4 o'clock. 7th, I think that is the 7th. 6th, we are going to have full day webinars. Please do join if you are free. Even if you are not free, also please do join, so that you will get lot of information about our biodiversity, conservation, all the details. And see you soon. Guys, be safe. All my Facebook friends and my webinar friends, followers, be safe. Though the lockdown fourth session is it's free, most of the people are going out and all, but please follow precautions. Do wear mask and don't go unless until necessary. And traveling to abhimat karna. Don't go now at all. Okay. Thank you, Nipin. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this session. For I enjoyed. It's a beautiful, colorful birds. I enjoyed. Now I have a lot of many more places to cover in South Asia also. So take care, guys, and be safe. Join me next week, Saturday, 10 o'clock. Okay, I hope you all guys will be joining. I will remind you also to join. And if you are registered webinar, then fine. Okay, otherwise you can join live Facebook also. It's going to be lot of knowledge sharing, not only for photographers. The next Saturday sessions are not only for the photographers. It's from school students, everyone at home. Everyone has to attend and watch. Okay, and especially for the photographers, I will be doing 1 hour. My session will be 1 hour photo master class. So how to see colors, how to compose moods, how to apply rules, and how can you break. It's a photography, serious photography class. So that's why I kept it last. Information sharing is my previous 3 speakers will be a lot of information about environment and how much important to biodiversity, how to live sustainability in our day-to-day life. It's not only for the photographers, it's for everyone. So do join me next Saturday. And for my photographer friends, don't miss my 12 to 1 o'clock session. And afternoon, evening also 4 to 7:30, we are having interesting lineup. 4 o'clock, Mr. Aravind Venkatraman, waders, he will be talking about waders, weather photography. Ganesh Teram is going to talking about tractors. And we have interesting lineup after that also. Please do join. and be safe. Okay. And thank you once again for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed today's session. Thank you, Ram. Thank you, Ashish. Okay. Thank you, Nipin. Bye bye. Take care, all of you. I hope all the questions you answered. Thank you, Seva. Thank you, Abhishek. Yes, Sumiti, please do join. Okay, 6th webinar. Thank you, Kartikeyan. Thank you, Raghavan. Bye bye. And be safe. Okay. See you on next Saturday, 10 o'clock. Okay. Bye bye.